last we did a fortnight ago was the 30th verse. Apichetsu duracharah bhajate mam ananya bhak sadhureva samantavyah samyak vyavasito hisah. Even if a wicked person worships me, the most sinful person worships me with unswerving devotion, he too shall be regarded as righteous indeed, as he has rightly resolved. Even if a wicked person, su duracharah, here a wicked person means one who has led a life of the lower, one who has led a life of materiality and sensuality. All he has allowed the rajo and the tamo guna in him to take over his life. All his life he has been thinking of rajas, which is acquisition, and tamas, which is enjoyment, which is indulgence. So one who has allowed the rajo and tamo guna to influence him, or you can also take that one who is of the lowest of the spiritual order, means the least evolved people, the most rajasic and the tamasic people, the least evolved, even if such a people, even those class of people, if they have rightly resolved, samyak vyavasitah, if you have firmed up, if you have taken a clear decision, if you are clear what to seek, then he says, with unswerving devotion, if you worship me, you too shall be regarded as righteous. So what is the most comforting, most satisfying thing here is, in life in general, spirituality in particular, it really doesn't matter as to what level of spiritual development you are. It doesn't matter what you have done thus far, as long as you take the right direction into your life. So the direction of your actions is more important than the progress you make or the progression you have made thus far. It is just a matter of time. If you continue to put in the effort, you will reach the right destination. And so what happens is, when he does that, when he says that, it means that you no need to be result oriented. So the anxiety for the results, the fruit of your action, is disregarded. So there is no reference to the past. So if you go by this verse, if you can remain in the present and not regarding your past, you have every opportunity to move ahead, every opportunity to make immense of what you can do today. As much so, he says, you can achieve the highest, you can become the most righteous, means you can attain the highest goal, provided you are able to cut off yourself from the past and just remain in the present and do what you have to do. Now, when I talk of this, you would realize how much of your past is haunting you. How we are constantly living in the memories of the past. And if you want to remain in the present, the only way you can keep the mind in the present is by using the strength of your intellect through your wisdom to constantly police the mind and keep it here. The moment your intellect relaxes, you do not supervise the mind and let the mind loose, instantly your mind will go into the past or the future. So your ability to keep or remain in the present is directly proportional to your ability to police the mind. And you only police the mind with the help of your intellect. Now you know to what extent you have the intellectual strength, right? So if you only have 20% intellect, only 20% you are able to keep your mind under control. 80% your mind is not under your control. And this you must come to accept, this you must come to terms of. There is no other way you can control the mind. You must give up your experimentation. The only way you can control the mind is through your intellect. There is no other way. And once your mind is under control, once you have been able to bring perfect equanimity to the mind, then your mind can be put to higher spiritual disciplines of dharana, dhyana. But many people out there tell you that you can control the mind through dhyana. It is like putting the cart before the horse. You cannot put the cart before the horse. Dhyana does not help you to control the mind. Only a controlled mind can do dhyana. But people out there will say abhyasa, abhyasa, abhyasa. That is the practice. That is not going to help you. Because dhyana is a postgraduate exercise. A postgraduate exercise requires a very high matured mind. An immature mind cannot concentrate, cannot meditate. Meditation is a concentrated concentration. So if you want to meditate, it is necessary that you have your mind perfectly under control. Even if I have to disregard my past and continue to put efforts in the present, I must be able to snap the past, let my mind remain in the present. And that's only possible with an intellect. And if you have a weak intellect, it is not possible to control the mind. And to that extent, you will be affected by your past. To that extent, you will be a victim of the past. Now, I can be very proud to say I am not a victim of my past. How many of you can say that I am not a victim of my past? Means I am not allowing my past to ever come and interfere with my current course of action. Whether the past could be favorable, the past could be unfavorable to me, but I am not allowing my past to interfere with what I produce today. In fact, it's the most optimistic message he gives here. It doesn't matter where you are in the ladder. You could be at 70%, you could be at 10%. It really doesn't matter where you are in the spiritual ladder. What matters is your direction and effort. So to a person who has got his direction clear, who has got his intent clear, to him the Lord says, worship me with unswerving devotion. Now, what does the word worship mean here? Worship doesn't mean morning, day, and night. You sit in front of the altar and keep chanting and muttering the prayers. So when the Lord says, worship me, what does the word worship here mean? You are familiar about it. I just want to ensure that you've got it right. It should not be misconstrued. Sanjay, what does the word worship me mean? I don't know why it seems as if I have seen you in some which other yuga I have seen you, Sanjay? Why does it
2 weeks ago
seem like that? Yeah, it looks like a different yuga altogether. I'm missing you, Sanjay. Please don't do this to me. I'm really missing you. I don't see my wife for 2 months also. I don't feel like that. But I've not seen you for 2 weeks. I'm missing you. Oh, sorry. My wife is here in the class.
Yeah.
Now I have to face the consequences. So what does the word worship me means?
Contemplation on the self, on the self, on the higher self.
So you must understand here he's talking of the most wicked person to worship me. So how can the most wicked person, the most tamasic person, the most rajasic person worship the self? How is that possible?
Okay. So cultivation of sattvic, having a more sattvic, be more sattvic.
You're very, very general. All of us are sattvic. See, if we were to apply this not to the lowest of the cadre, let's say there are the lowest of people. Now, none of us are belonging to that category. All of us have a fair proportion of sattva, right? Now, if we have to relate this particular quality of worshipping the self to any one of us, how would you relate to that quality of worshipping? Now, this is not a theoretical question, so I don't expect a theoretical answer. I expect a practical way which you can apply in your life to transform you. It's not that you're giving an advice to anybody. It's like I talking to myself. So you have to think in that manner. That's when you will bring about a change. I will bring about a change.
Okay. If I'm just thinking for myself, then the answer to me is just continual listening and studying and thinking of the Shastras. Because when I've got that kind of that purer mind, then only then is study of the Shastras really effective. Otherwise, it's not.
Okay. See, irrespective of what specific you would do for yourself, the principle remains the same. Even if the most wicked person worships, I worship or you worship, we all need to worship. So what does he mean that a wicked person has taken a clear resolve to worship me? And he does that consistently, then he attains the righteous. You're not wrong, but I'm looking at a general formula which we all can apply. But the difference for all of us would be at different stages, but the principle remains the same. Okay. Yes, Ravi Shankar ji.
Namaskaram, sir.
Namaskar.
All that I can think of is if you're an average seeker, as you indicated, like at least I am, the best you can try and do is act as righteously as possible, which is a form of worship, and think of the Lord and whether He would approve of your actions. And think of the Lord. Worship is maranam. So think of the Lord, pray to Him, ask Him to guide your action, and act as righteously as possible.
I see you're interpreting it literally. But if I try to look at it from an applied philosophy, what do I need to do to apply this quality? I need to translate the concept of worship into applied philosophy and see to how can I apply it. Because to be fair to the context, a wicked person who is consumed by rajas and tamas, which we have primarily studied during the wisdom retreat, it's impossible to bring about such a paradigm shift to think of sattva or think of the Lord, which is the highest. It's too demanding for such a person to do so. So I'm looking at it from what I can do right away to be able to get me to that level. Okay. But I've heard you, sir. I take a note of your perspective. Okay, let me hear Venkatamji.
Hari Om, Guruji, and everyone. My answers would not be very different from the earlier two seekers. All I would say is that make efforts to walk this path of spirituality and then, be a good human being and make efforts towards that. I mean, in a very simple, like what we are, or what at least I'm trying to do now. Is it oversimplified?
Sir, all I will say, I don't like you and you. Oh, sorry, I don't like your answer. I don't mean you. It's like a slight slip of tongue, sir. Please forgive me for that. But
No,
I don't like the answer,
okay.
sir.
No, absolutely no issues.
No, then I will say I don't like you.
No issues at all. I mean, your liking of mine is, what can I do about that if you don't like me?
Yes, sir. What, you can't do anything about it, sir.
No, anyway, jokes apart. So I think, that is what at least a person
Sir,
like
sir,
me.
what I'm trying to get at is, as I've just said, a rajasic person and tamasic person. Rajasic person is constantly looking at acquisition. Tamasic person looking at indulging and enjoying what he's acquired, right? Now, where does sattva come in? Can you give me one word which answers the question, which is synonymous to sattva? And that word means worship. So what is synonymous to sattva, which means worship? Which is the way forward out of rajas and tamas?
He is in action but detached from the fruits of the action, or
One
like
word, sir. One word.
one word. That would be
One word which would symbolize sattva to bring him out of rajas and tamas. I'm looking at applied philosophy, sir. This is not pure philosophy. No doubt it can be translated, but this is a clear path of action we're talking about. One word answer. Vaidyanathanji, could you, sir, you'll have to unmute yourself, please?
I would say surrender. He'll have to stop doing what he was doing wrong and surrender. And that's what I can think of. If I was, rajasic and tamasic, first thing is I know what I'm doing wrong. Those things I have to stop first. Next thing is you bring in bhakti and surrender and help to move towards the sattvic side.
Now, I see you're primarily interpreting the word worship from a devotional perspective. Now, it doesn't necessarily have a devotional angle. It can also have an intellectual angle. So being generic doesn't matter what kind of a person. You can be a karma yogi as well. In fact, it is very neutral answer. So what is a synonym for sattva? It's not surrender I'm looking at. Not that you're wrong.
Good. I mean, sattva is
So if I can give you a clue, what is the difference between a sattvic action, rajasic action? A rajasic person is running behind his desires, right?
correct.
Now, what is a sattvic person working for?
He is. He's not. He's not.
To a rajasic man, I'm saying inject sattva. That's all I'm asking. How do I inject sattva to a man who is running behind acquisition enjoyment? That is how he'll slowly change his course of action towards
Correct.
sattva. May not be ultimately towards the Lord, towards the self. That's a long way ahead. But right now, how can I change my course?
First thing has to be detached. Then.
In fact, I'm sorry to say, the last thing comes as detachment. See, detachment is not something that comes. In fact, what you can practice is attachment. So we take example, when you get attached to a bicycle, the tricycle drops. When you get attached to a motorcycle, the tricycle and the bicycle have dropped. When you get attached to a girlfriend, you don't know where the motorcycle gone. When you get attached to something else, you don't know where's your wife. You don't know where your children. You're attached to your business. You're attached to making money. You're running all over the world. You believe your family is provided and taken care of. Your attachment is something else. So when you keep picking up higher objects, the lower drops. So I cannot, if I'm not wrong, I think I did mention this during the retreat very clearly. Do not practice detachment because detachment cannot be practiced. What you practice is attachment. And attachment is uniting with the higher, which is sattva. Therefore, I'm asking, what can I do to become sattvic from this moment, sir? Let's say we all have been rajasic and tamasic just for discussion. And today we have decided that we all want to become sattvic. We all want to become righteous. What can I do? I need to go down to the action level and see how can I change the course of my action? What is it that will change the course of my action? What is that one word for sattva? Setuji. Now, not that you all are wrong, but I'm trying to just build a thought. Please, please bear with me. Ha, Setuji.
Hari Om Guruji. Sacrifice is the one word. Yajna spirit.
Now, when you talk of yajna or sacrifice, what are we talking about?
Sacrificing in doing any action with a higher purpose, beyond self.
All what I'm looking at, the word is conceive a higher goal in your life. The synonym of sattva is a higher goal, a greater purpose, an unselfish cause you can work for. Can you conceive and clearly conceive that your actions can be directed towards that end? So you're channeling all your thoughts and efforts from acquisition and enjoyment. You are directing it towards attainment of that higher goal. So only when you conceive a goal can your actions become unselfish, or as Setuji said, have the flavor of a yajna spirit? So what is it that you are working for? So when he says worshipping, he says pitch up a goal in life, pitch up an ideal in life, pitch up a common cause we can work for. And the only way you can work towards it is by conceiving, then dedicate your actions to it. Automatically the lower gets dropped. And as you reach the goal, now how did we define a goal in the retreat, Shivaji? We use a specific term, or we constructed a specific statement, a unique statement.
It's not too far away, or you stretch us a little more. It's not totally out of reach, but you stretch us a little more.
The exact words are, a goal must be within your capacity, beyond your reach.
Within capacity, beyond reach. Yeah.
It must be within your capacity, but yet beyond your reach. If it is beyond your capacity, you're being unrealistic. Yeah.
Not attempt.
While I'm doing yoga, I must bend my back as Shivaji bends. I will break my back. I am not as flexible as Shivaji. I can't do that. So my goal must be within my capacity. I should be able to do that. But beyond my reach, it's not too comfortable. I should be able to push myself that 10% more, 15% more. But firstly, it must be within my capacity. So know your limits and then work out from there.
If it's within the limits, you become tamasic.
Then Shavasana only. Then nothing, no need to come to yoga. You can sleep in your room only. Little more comfortable bed. Rather than a simple mat, you can sleep there. Little more cushion you will get. Isn't it, Shivaji? I hope you are continuing to wake up these people from the tamas.
Yes.
Please do so. Right, sir. So this is the message. Not only does he give you an opportunity to come out of where you are, he also gives you a direction how to get there. So it could be you could be the lowest of person. So there are quite a few practical tips that you can take from this verse. So it doesn't matter where you are, the direction you take. What's important is the resolve. The third, he says, conceive a goal. And then he says, perform consistent actions. Lastly, he says, you will attain the righteous. 5 practical tips he gives from an innocuous statement he makes. And also the 6th point perhaps is to disregard the past and remain in the present. If you can disregard the past, I tell you, that very moment, you are liberated. And as we said, the capacity to remain in the present is directly proportional to the strength of your intellect, which is exactly measured with your wisdom. So quite a few takeaways from that 30th verse. Vijayji, good to see you. Namaskar.
Happy to be here. Finally get to experience another session with you live.
Yes, but that I give credit to Kashish and to Harish.
That's true.
Little credit to Harish, all the credit to your daughter.
Absolutely.
So she is your guru here. Please accept that.
Will
You
do.
accept it on the screen, not will do. Now you should do.
No, it's not just my daughter that's the guru. It's my son as well. They're both equally.
Oh my God, that's the beauty. That's nice. Yes, absolutely. The wonderful kids, and then so nice, so good to see you, sir. Right.
Good to see you as well.
You're following the thought process, sir.
Yes, I am.
Very much appreciate. Thank you. Thank you. 31, please. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma Shashvachantim nigacchati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati Shipram bhavati dharmatma Shashvachantim nigacchati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. Kshipram, use the word, look at the word he uses. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma. Soon he becomes righteous and attains eternal peace. Shashwatam shantim nigacchati. He attains eternal peace. O Kaunteya, O Arjuna, know for certain. Pratijanihi, know for certain that my devotee never is destroyed, never perishes. Na pranashyati. Never perishes, is never destroyed. So here the Lord in this verse uses very powerful statements to lend his support to the category of people he spoke in the previous verse. He spoke of the people who are weak-minded, who are the least evolved. So if you take the resolve, he says, I assure you, you will become soon righteous. Oh, is it? Will I? Oh, so sweet of you, my Lord. You give so much love and assurance to me. I will certainly give my try. I will give my effort. I will do what I can because you assure me. Look at that enthuse he injects into that seeker. Look at that commitment a seeker considers. So he makes a very powerful statement to support the weak-minded. In fact, the tone here, very rarely masters speak or make a direct declaration. So here he is making direct declaration, know for certain. That my devotee never perishes. Any teacher understands how difficult it is for the student. Any teacher understands because the student himself or the teacher himself has gone through that phase of life. So he understands the difficulty and the challenges what the student goes through. So the teacher is giving him all that assurance. Never perishes. What do you mean never perishes? Pranashyati. Na pranashyati. See, if you go back into the 22nd verse, he said, if you remember, we said the chapter 9, the 22nd verse, we said is the geometrical center of the Gita. Where the verse stated, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yoga kshema vahamyaham. Where he said, you attain yoga and kshema. Yoga is union, kshema is your well-being. You attain that if you pursue me with ananya chinta, with steadfastness. If you pursue, you attain that. So when you pursue the higher, you will be looked after. There will be no material problems. There will be no emotional problem. There will be no intellectual blockage. You will be very much in your journey towards the truth. Because in the sense, what it means is there will be no obstacle that will impede in your journey. You will be taken care of. Like as a parent, don't you do everything possible to take care of your children? Venkatji, are you not working hard now? All that struggle that you went through as a youngster, all the difficulties you endured, are you not working hard to ensure that your children they don't go through that?
Yes. We do.
So you are wanting to ensure that they will have material security, they will have physical comforts, they will have emotional peace, they will have intellectually they equipped so that they are protected for their life. If that's how a father, a parent would have for their child, what concern would the Lord have towards who's seeking him? Would he not providing everything that a seeker needs for his pursuit of the higher?
Yes.
How much care would the Lord take to his seeker? That's the only way you can interpret it. Me bhaktaha, my devotee, he's my devotee. Like you say, he's my child. You may not do that to every child, but you do that to your child because you're obligated. So the Lord says, I do to my child. He never perishes. Why? Because he has disregarded everything else in the world, but he has chosen to seek me. So he shall be protected, provided for everything he needs, so that his journey, his passage towards me is an asphalted freeway, an expressway, not just a gully with a kacha road, with all potholes and obstacles and impediments. It's a freeway. It's an asphalted, beautiful expressway. Everything will be provided for your journey towards me. You will not perish. You will not suffer. Sir, do you see the truth in it?
Yes, yes, Guruji. Definitely.
And as you said earlier, if you walk the talk, you will actually be able to relate to his words.
Yes.
To the extent you worship the Lord, to the extent you seek the self, there will be no obstacles in your journey to get to the self. Before the obstacles appear, seemingly the obstacles which are seemingly an obstacle automatically disappear. There is no more an obstacle. Everything will fall in its place. Everything will pave its way for your progression to the truth. All you need to do is take a firm
Make efforts.
resolve. Take a firm resolve to seek the self. That's all. Everything else will be done to you. And therefore, the Lord says, you will not perish. But one who does not seek goes through the cycle of birth and death, he perishes, and every passage of journey of life is pain and pinpricks and sorrow and stress and suffering. Look at how you're protected when you seek the higher. Sir, this is a philosophical way. You may say, sir, you are extempo, you are using such flowery language. But in a practical sense, from an applied philosophy, what happens when you seek the lower? When someone is running behind the rajas and tamas, what happens to them? Immediately we are muting Venkatji because I want to connect with Pritima. Hari Om, Pritima, Namaskaram. Seek your blessings, ma.
Please don't say that. Don't embarrass me.
What? I genuinely seeking your wishes. It's so nice to see you, ma.
Best wishes each moment.
Oh, yeah. No, this moment is very precious because you wished me,
My apologies, sir. The power went off, so now it's come back.
Sir, power has come back because Pritima has come back, sir.
Yes, yes.
Ma, if I can ask you, when one is constantly running behind anything worldly, materialistic, what are the consequences of such pursuit as a person who's pursuing it?
You're agitated most of the time. You're in a frenzy because you want to get that particular thing. And when you're not able to get it, there's disappointment, there's distress, frustration, all those things. So basically, your emotions are in a tangle.
You're full of emotions, as you rightly said. You're agitated, disappointed, you're because you're constantly chasing your desires. Your anticipations are not met, so you're disappointed, stressed, etc. Right? Now, What would be the contrary to that? One who seeks to pursue the higher. What are the consequences of that?
As long as you seek to pursue the higher without being fretful about it, you will be composed. I mean, you can't run after it also. It has to happen in the normal course of things as you go about your daily actions or duties.
But where does the discomfort come from when you pursue the lower? And where does the comfort come from when you pursue the higher? What is it that is giving you discomfort vis-a-vis what is it that giving you comfort? It's a one-word answer.
One is fleeting and the other is it's permanent. It's never going to be taken away from you. It's always yours.
Yes, yes, something which remains, another is fleeting. Right, wonderful. Now, let me ask UK, what happens when you seek the lower? As rightly said, Pritima said, there is a lot of discomfort. What is it that disturbs you? I'm only trying to explain the concept. When we said my devotee never perishes, means he is protected for. He finds himself peaceful, comfortable. Everything is protected.
Going very smooth in
Everything
his,
is very
yeah,
smooth.
Yes, Guruji.
There are no hiccups in his life.
Yes.
Right?
So
The path contrary to that is very disturbing.
like he's never at peace, Guruji. They're always chasing their. If it is a rajasic person, he will be chasing the worldly this thing, and if it is a tamasic, he cares two puts for the anything at all. So they are living in a sort of a. There's no light. They're living in their own darkness.
But what is it that causes all that discomfort?
Because they're not even looking at the self.
Okay. Now, what is the relative? In fact, if I give this statement answer, you get it. What is the relative righteousness in you, or what is the righteousness in you? Absolute righteousness is the self. The relative righteousness is
conscience. Guruji.
Conscience. That's why I said.
Yeah.
So when you go against your conscience, you will
not be peaceful. You will definitely not be peaceful.
So a sattvic person, since he comforts his conscience, he never confronts his conscience.
Yes.
Since you're constantly taking your conscience into confidence,
you will
find yourself.
Peace. Yeah.
You are protected, you are peaceful, you are comfortable.
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. So anything that is materialistic and sensual is against your conscience. Remember this. Anything that is the path of the lower is against your conscience. The moment you go towards the higher, you support your conscience. Ashama, you know what conscience means? Then why don't you ask me? That also I only have to ask you, is it?
So what is conscience?
Now you're asking because I say so. Tell you, you all are very smart. Now, can anybody help Ashama explain what is conscience? Harish, can you give a try, Harish? Do you know what conscience is?
Conscience is your inner, your knowing what to do or what not to do. I don't know how to explain it in that sense. It's just the knowing, Guruji, of what supports you or doesn't support you. Your inner voice that tells you what is right or what is wrong.
Conscience is an inner voice which tells you what is right, what is wrong, right? What could be another definition of that? Okay, Vijayji?
To me, it's like the inner direction towards Dharma. So your compass that takes you towards Dharma.
Absolutely. It's an inner compass that takes you towards the higher truth, towards the dharma, towards the path of righteousness. And is everybody having it?
I think it's in degrees based on our level of evolution, whether we have more tamas or more rajas or more sattvic. Based on that,
So-
our compass is more accurate or less accurate.
So do you mean to say that the compass or the conscience is a variable factor?
Well, conscience on its own, no, it's not variable, but the person that's able to connect with one's conscience, there are veils of ignorance that are there that are not able to provide the right direction, so to speak, when we need it, because we're so agitated with day-to-day desires and needs and disappointments and whatever have you. So we're not really able to home in on the beacon, the signal that takes us towards the true north.
So therefore, you're absolutely right. So therefore, it is not wrong to say that the conscience is the same in everybody. It is just that if someone is unable to heed the conscience, is because of the various vestures of ignorance and agitation that cloud it.
Right.
Right? Perfect, perfect. Any further descriptions of what conscience is, Sethuji?
You messenger of God.
Yes, we say conscience is that which guides you to the path of godhood. So every human has got, in fact, if there is a messenger of God, it is your own conscience.
And
It means it, yes, sir.
impurities impede. Impurities.
I'm sorry, can you come again?
Impurities in a person impedes contact in getting in touch with the messenger.
Correct. The impurities in a person, which is what Vijayji said, it's the conscience is clouded with your desires and agitation. So you don't hear your conscience, what your conscience saying.
So,
Fair enough. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, anything else, sir?
buried, I said. It gets
It's buried. Correct, yes. Yes, Raviji.
Can you hear me, so?
Yes.
So is conscience buddhi, or is it the atma, or what is it? If that is God's voice in you, do we call it the atma? Do we call it the buddhi? Is it part of the buddhi?
Sir, the Atman is the goal. Now then there is the
Conscience.
Conscience. Conscience, as we said, is a messenger, is that which points you or takes you towards the Atman. Now conscience is an aspect of subtle intellect. And there's something called as the intellect which you referred to is the gross intellect. So you must see there are these three, as it were, separate entities. So what was your statement or question, sir?
Essentially, what is the traditional Sanskrit word for conscience? Is it buddhi? Is it manas? Or is it something in between? Or is it atma itself?
No. See, the manas is the mind and its feelings.
Right.
The buddhi, we use what we call buddhi is the, so buddhi is the gross intellect, sir.
Buddhi is the gross intellect.
Yes, so the buddhi is the gross intellect.
Okay. And this
So
conscience, sorry, sir.
Go ahead. The conscience is a part of a subtle intellect. Conscience. What is that, Hari, you saying?
Antakarana, conscience.
So the inner voice.
Yeah.
So you can describe. So Hariji, can we call the conscious as Antakaranam?
Yeah.
Yes, you can. Which is what we all have defined, isn't it, Raviji?
Yes.
Did we not define the conscience as the inner voice, as this is the messenger of God?
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you can say so.
Is it so? Is the conscience above the buddhi?
What do you mean above the buddhi?
I mean, it's a subtler thing. It's higher than the buddhi and closer to the atman. That's what it is.
Yes, it is. It is higher than buddhi. It is independent of your vasanas. So you may act on your vasanas, but when you act on your vasanas, so now let me see this. Now if you want to follow the chart, on one side you have the vasanas, which expresses as desires, which operate through the mind. Right, sir?
Yes.
And other side you have the conscience, which operates through the intellect. I would use it, qualify it as gross intellect. Now you have a choice. The choice is either you go with your vasanas or you go with the conscience. So this is unrighteous, and this is the righteous.
So conscience, Sanskrit word would be antakarana.
That's what we have said, isn't it? As we said, antakaranam is the inner voice, the subtler voice. Anta is within, So that's what we say.
I think literally, my Sanskrit is not very good, sir, but antakaranam literally would be the inner ear, no?
So mine also is the same. We are the same boat, sir. That's why I was asking Hariji. Hariji, you want to enlighten us, Hariji?
You can't split and translate like that. It is conscience is antakaranam, that which can hear. or that which we hear.
Colloquially, don't you say manasakshi?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can say manasakshi also. It is that which what is your inner voice? That in fact, why is called that which is, as rightly Spritima is saying, it's a witness to everything. It doesn't get involved in anything that's happening. It just stands as a witness and tells you it is right or wrong. Whether you choose to heed its advice or not, the choice is yours. But it just tells you whatever you're doing, it tells you whether you're right or wrong. That's all. So if you choose to go with it, you will comfort the conscience. If you choose to go against it, you will confront the conscience. So if you go with your vasanas, so if you go with the vasanas, you will confront the conscience. Or if you take the path of righteousness, you will comfort it. So Vijayji, in fact, we are saying Antakarna as the inner instrument, the subtlest instrument within you, as it were. When you say instrument, again, it's not an organ or a function or an instrument. It is that inner something which is an integral part of you. Okay. Yeah. Are you okay, Raviji?
Yes. Yes. Thank you, sir.
Right. Right, sir. Right. Setuji?
Just to clarify, Raviji, Atman is also known as consciousness, isn't it?
But the consciousness is the Atman.
Conscience is Manachakshi, or
yes,
but consciousness is Atman.
Consciousness is Atman. Yes, we call it as the pure consciousness. Right. Yeah, Vaidyanathanji?
Yeah, I have the other word, Chaitanya for consciousness and Chitta for subconsciousness.
Chaitanya also, perhaps Chaitanya refers to the pure consciousness. It is not the conscience. So it's the another word for Atman.
Chaitanya would be closer to Atman than conscience.
Yeah, than the conscience. Right. Okay. Yeah, Sanjay?
Actually, Guruji, I need to probably think about this more. I've just stumbled upon a lot of ignorance in my understanding. I always thought Antakaran was this some part of the totality of the mind. So the four parts of the mind, ego, buddhi, mind, and chit. That was always my understanding. And now I'm just, Raviji just kind of, he just triggered something in me. What's this Sanskrit word for this higher intellect, the higher buddhi, the subtle buddhi? And I'm just wondering how come it's not obviously there? Why, I don't know, why is there no obvious Sanskrit word to describe that?
You
But
mean
that's just something.
there is, you mean what's the Sanskrit word for conscience?
Yeah. I'm just wondering why is it such a why is it a struggle to find that word?
No, I'm just trying to get I'm just trying to get opinion, get different perspective, because in various contexts we use it differently. You know, we colloquially use it manashanti, you know, manasakshi, we say, manasakshi is a very close word which is very apt to the conscience. But when you say the subtle body is mano, buddhi, chitta, ahankar, that is different. That is your mind is emotions. Manas, buddhi is the intellect. Ego is chitta, ahankar, and chitta is the
Ahankar.
conditioned consciousness. So ahankar. So all those is the subtle body,
Okay.
which is
So
called
the
the
four.
sukshma
Okay.
sharira. Sukshma sharira is known as the subtle body that is constituted of mind, intellect, ego, and conditioned consciousness.
Ooh,
Chitta.
okay. I always
So that
call
is
that the antakaran. Okay. So thank you.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, Hariji. Harish.
Even if a very wicked person worships me with unswearing devotion. So we are now verse 20, 30 and 31, we are talking about a wicked person. For him, I think the biggest impediment for him to make the spiritual progress is his sense of guilt, because he has been wicked all these days. How do we come out of the feeling of guilt?
The guilt is,
That is the biggest impediment.
yeah, the solution he has given is to remain in the present, isn't it? Just because I have destroyed my past, committing the mistake, I don't want to destroy my present, thinking of the past and its consequences. So if I
But how can
continue to feel,
what is the process of coming out of the guilt?
the process is to use the present opportunity of the action you can perform. You can perform fresh actions. Your past actions has created guilt. The present actions can give you a great comfort and peace. So there's no point me continue to live in the past, but rather choose to perform a present action which can give me a fresh future, a bright future. So the only way I can create a fresh future is to disregard the past and perform the action in the present. And that's what we said. It's the intellect that helps you to clearly snap. You got to disregard the past, completely forget the past. But it's not as easy said
than
done. But it's important that you must ensure when you don't police the mind, that's what the mind does. Quickly it keeps going into the past.
Okay.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, thank
you. Yes, Harish.
Guruji, so would it be correct to say that if somebody is constantly unhappy and agitated, does that mean that they are constantly confronting their conscience due to their wrong thought, action, word, and deed? Would that be a correct statement, Guruji?
Could you repeat? Sorry.
If someone is constantly unhappy and agitated, does it mean that they are confronting their conscience due to their wrong thoughts, actions, words, and deeds?
What is wrong thoughts?
They are basically in tamas and rajasic mode of life predominantly. And they are constantly chasing life, thinking the reality is out there in their own disillusion.
Right. So yes, so if you are agitated, that's the thumb rule that you are against your conscience, you're confronting your conscience. Because agitation, the fundamental theorem of agitation is nothing in the world can agitate you except yourself. So when you say nothing in the world can agitate you but except yourself, what is it within you that's agitating you? Is because you are entertaining unrealistic expectations, or you're operating on your impulses, or you're operating on your expectations, or likes and dislikes, or your desires. And none of that are supported by your conscience. Remember that. So the enemy is within you. It's not the outside world. So what's causing misery within you is yourself. It's not the outside world. And what is it within you is you're going against your own conscience. So conscience doesn't allow you to operate on likes and dislikes, nor your impulses, nor emotions, nor your desires. Your conscience encourages you to act with a higher goal. Your conscience comforts you only when you work for a higher goal. Your conscience confronts you when you operate on your raga dvesha, as we learned in the retreat. Raga dvesha, it confronts you if you operate on your desires, your expectations, your emotions and impulses. So if you act impulsively, if you act on a desire, your conscience will never comfort you, it will agitate you. But on the contrary, if you act for a higher purpose, a goal, based on your dharma, your conscience comforts you. Does that help you, Harish?
Yes, perfectly, Guruji.
Great, right. Raviji, if yes, hold on, please. I will come to you. Yes, Ashama.
Guruji, I have a question over here. We started off the discussion saying that the verse said that the worshipper is not destroyed, or the worshipper would be protected, or his path becomes clearer as he starts his journey towards seeking. How would I, as someone who is a beginner or on the lower level, how would I know? How would I get that assurance? This verse is about the worshipper being assured. How do I, as an individual, know that I am protected? How do I stay on that? Because there would be various things happening that would be demotivating me or moving me away from the course which I've decided to take. So how do I know I'm being protected? How do I know that I'm being looked after?
Okay, it's like you ask me, you come to my city, okay? And you ask me, sir, I would like to go to a restaurant for food. Can you recommend a good restaurant? And I tell you, oh yeah, there's a wonderful restaurant. I would recommend you. I'm unable to join, but I hope you would be able to find your way there. Yes, sir, yes, sir. I just want to know. I don't want to disturb you. And then next question you ask me, sir, how do you assure me I will not be served contaminated food? I will tell you, please trust me, Ashama. I have been there 10 times and my entire family and friends have gone there. None of them have had any problem. All of them have enjoyed the food. All of them have shared similar experiences. Trust me, go there, nothing will happen. So exactly the same way, I will tell you, trust me, because I am the Lord's messenger now, giving his message to you. Trust me and trust the Lord. You get onto the path, you will be protected. So any journey you embark, if there is a slightest of suspicion, it will spoil it all. That thought or doubt or suspicion is like drop of milk in lime, or the drop of lime in milk. So it will spoil it. So let that doubt or suspicion not come and spoil the feeling of not blind faith, but a measured faith. You apply your logic and reason, but you got to take enough precaution in the performance of right action. You don't commit stupid actions and then say, Lord will protect me. Huh? No, Lord will protect you for your reckless actions. As long as your actions are assured and rational to your best possible execution, you're protected. Beyond that, you have to face the consequences. But you must start with faith. You can't start with doubt. Okay? But does it help you to get a fair picture as to what the conscience is, the discussion where it is leading? It gives you an idea what conscience is, all right?
Yes, yes.
All right, okay, great. Right. Ha, Shivaji?
It's a constant war within every individual between the consciousness and the vasanas.
Between conscience
And
and
the
vasanas,
vasanas.
not consciousness.
Conscience and vasanas.
Correct.
It's a constant war. Which one wins? The one what we feed wins. The one what we go on feeding, it definitely, obviously overtakes the other.
So in a layman's term, it is the conflict between the war between the head and the heart, between the
Yes.
mind and the intellect. Isn't it?
And whichever you feed, obviously it becomes strengthened.
Absolutely. Sadly, we have been feeding the mind all this while, therefore, we are not able to win the battle. Okay, right. Ha, Raviji?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
No, I was going to ask, when we talk of conscience, all of us in our everyday practical lives do, whether we like it or not, there is a conscience which tells you what you're doing is right or wrong, or partly right, partly wrong. We do follow it to the best of our ability. But the question is, to suppose you look at it as a conditioning, because what is right in one society is not right in some other society. What is right in the East is not right in the West. What is right in the West is not right in the East. So how do we know that our conscience, whatever is dictating, is not pure conditioning and it comes from a higher source? Social conditioning, socioeconomic conditioning, and so on.
So your conscience is guiding you subjective to what Raviji is, what you are, what Mr. Ravi is, what your actions are, where you are, your social status, your conditions, your environment, your upbringing, your value systems. It takes all into account and it supports you. What's the right course of action for you, which may not be necessarily right for me or for anybody else. So therefore, it is purely subjective, but your conscience takes all those into account and gives you the right course of action.
If it is so subjective, then how does one trust it?
When I say subjective, means what actions you perform vis-a-vis what actions I perform are different. There's nothing as a right action and wrong action. The action is not right or wrong, but the conscience in everybody is leading them towards the path of dharma. Where the conscience leads you is the same goal, but it operates dynamically as to where you are. So the conscience is not, as it were, static. It is able to cater to you where you are to tell you what's the right direction. It's like a GPS. It's able to constantly adapt and guide you from there to the right goal, the destination.
So let's say, sir, theoretically, why theoretically, even in real life, certain things which are, while I'm living in India, if I do them, may not be acceptable to my conscience, but if I do the same thing while living elsewhere, may be acceptable to my conscience.
Example?
I mean, there's so many social things, social behavior of many sorts, which which vary from society to society, including if you want me to give one example, a big example, something like the institution of marriage. It may not have the same significance in every society. How does one look at that? Or there you're still guided by your conscience, or what you're saying is your conscience filters your circumstances and gives you the necessary wisdom to act rightly. That's what you're saying.
No, your necessary decisions that you have made. Your conscience corresponds to your decisions you have made and what circumstances you have made decision. For example, you are lost in a desert, and you have to survive, and you have to survive only on eating meat. And you have been a thorough Brahmana, pure vegetarian all through your life. But if you have to survive, and if I have to eat meat, your conscience will not tell you're wrong, because there's nothing else to survive. If I don't consume that meat, I'll die. Either I die not eating or survive eating meat. I would choose to eat meat and survive and come out so that I can live a longer life than ending my life because I am not a meat eater. My conscience will not say wrong. Therefore, oh, I love the taste of meat. I never knew meat is so tasty, it's so beautiful. And this chicken is, wow, it's yummy. Therefore, I continue eating. That conscience will keep punishing you every time you eat butter chicken. You will be roasted. Your conscience is roasting you inside. You can't use that as an excuse and say, let me continue eating just because I enjoy it.
On the other hand,
it's contextual.
I understand. On the other hand, if I choose to die instead of eating it, that would also be correct.
No, I'm just taking an example, sir. Why do you want to talk? Otherwise, I can't understand. No,
in the sense,
if one has to die, there are many ways to die. Why should you go and die in a desert? I don't understand.
No, I'm just thinking of the conscience. Anyway,
I can't say, because it is no action per se is right or wrong. If I choose to eat and my conscience support is right for me, there is nothing as do's and don'ts or right or wrong in Vedanta. So you can't say this is the right action, this is the wrong action. No. Is killing right or wrong? I would say. A soldier is killing, his conscience supports it. Same fellow, a terrorist or a teenager takes up a weapon of destruction out of his frustration towards a particular society, he goes and mercilessly kills them. The same act of killing. One is rewarded, other is punished. One is supported, other doesn't support it. So
exactly,
killing per se is not right or wrong. It is with reference to the individual, the context, and the choices you make. And rightly said, what is the motive behind the action? So everything has a higher motive or a purpose. So once that motive gets justified, your conscience thereafter further protects you.
I understand. The larger good, what we talked about at the retreat, the larger good, serving the larger.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Right.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Yes, Harish, I think we'll take the last question.
One more observation, Guruji. Is it also correct to say that if any one of us have a deep, sound, and peaceful sleep, does that mean that our conscience is in comfort mode?
It could also mean you're extremely tamasic. I'm sorry, Harish, you may be trying to get some comfort in the answer, but I have spoiled it all now. No, if one is sleeping peacefully, that means his mind is not agitated. What has that got to do with the conscience?
Because Guruji, sometimes when we sleep, we are tossing and turning. We are half asleep, we are half awake.
It's also possible the bed is not to your taste. That also is possible.
Also true. Correct.
I'm very sorry, Harish. I always take this liberty with you only, you know. No, see, you don't have to connect that sleep to your conscience, but in a way there is a connect, you know. But if you're, what we would say is, if your mind is not agitated, like an agitated mind cannot sleep peacefully. So if you want to have that sound sleep, you should be relatively be mentally calm. And who is agitated? Obviously, one who is conscience is not supported. You are agitated in that sense. That way you can connect to the conscience, but don't connect directly if I'm sleeping well because my conscience is supporting. You sleep beyond 4 o'clock, your conscience will not support, Harish. No, suddenly it's become very quiet. No, please answer this question. You get up at 6 o'clock, 5:30, your conscience will support? No, why am I not hearing anything from you?
No, Guruji, it will not support.
Little louder, please.
No, Guruji, it will not support it.
Therefore, your conscience will not support if you sleep more, if you sleep less also. You sleep less or sleep more, you eat less or eat more, your conscience will not support. Because elsewhere in the Gita, we say this knowledge is not designed for those who eat too much or eat too little, who sleep too much or sleep too little. Means not meant for the tamasic and rajasic. It's meant for those who lead a life of sattva. So only a sattvic person can comfort his conscience, not the rajasic and tamasic. All right?
Yes, Guruji. Thank you.
Yes, Hariji. Lastly, you, Hariji.
Guruji, I don't think the conscience has got anything to do with geography or geological position. Whatever, there is only one conscience that is same for everybody, whether I am in India or in America or in Africa. Killing is incorrect. That is incorrect for anybody. Telling lies is incorrect. That is valid for anybody. It has got nothing to do with my conscience in India will be different and in America will be different. That is one. And secondly, the conscience cannot tell me I am partially correct and partially wrong. The conscience will always show me only one direction. That is the marinate's compass.
Correct.
This
Now,
is the right thing.
To your first point, how would an aboriginal react to meat eating?
When
all his life he's only seen is lead an aboriginal life where he has lived in the jungle. He has lived only on the stock or the prey that's available in the wild, and he lived on that.
Yeah. Yes.
So how would his conscience support it?
No, this
you talk of the great Bhakta Kannappa, who offered meat to Lord Shiva and attained moksha. That's all he knew. He knew that as offering, he wanted to offer to the Lord. What he had is meat with him. He offered to the Lord the meat, and that was accepted by the Lord. So no action per se is right or wrong. So let's not brand it right or wrong. I'm conscious. See, what is sin? Committing of sin is conscience pricking you. Yeah. If I do something and I feel bad or guilty about it, it is committing a sin. When I eat meat, and if I don't feel bad about it, and I don't see anything wrong about it, it is not wrong for you, full stop. But will I not face the consequences of eating meat? Certainly, at the physical level, the fact that I'm causing harm to that creature, I will also go through physical pain or disease or whatever. But mental conscience is my mental agitations, or I don't feel guilty about it, that doesn't happen. So there is nothing right as say this is right for you and right for everybody else. No, there's nothing like that. By speaking false, if I'm able to do good, I'd rather speak false than speaking the truth.
True. But in general,
so how can you? In general, we will not. Sir, we will not. We will have to be true to the term. No action per se is right or wrong.
Yeah, correct. Right.
So just because 100 actions, 99 actions are right, I can't generalize that.
Yeah.
One action will prove that wrong. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Therefore, that's why we say what makes it right is, does an action insult you when you do it? If it insults you, it is wrong for you. If it doesn't insult you, it is right as far as you are concerned. At that moment, it's not necessarily going to be right throughout your life. At that moment, it's right. So you can be living in comfort. But as you gain higher knowledge and circumstances and situations change, you will have to revisit and see, is this the right thing for me? That might certainly change. Okay?
Yeah. And partly right and partly wrong, conscience, will it, it can only show one.
No,
whether
it will not give no partly right, partly wrong, either right or wrong, that's all.
That's okay.
It can't be in parts.
Yeah.
And Vijayji, please kill the cockroach and mosquito both. You don't have a choice there, because either you live or they live. So you choose to you choose to occupy, or you want to vacate. If you want them to live, you will have to vacate very soon. So find another home and then you can let them live. So it doesn't incur any sin. But don't, in fact, they say when you're killing a cockroach, you ensure that you have killed it completely. Don't half kill it and let it suffer. If you half kill it and suffer, you will face the consequences for not being mindful of killing it. You see, you kill it, there's no karma, but you half kill it and let it suffer, it has more consequences. Okay, Ji. We'll come back. But as you see, these are the practical aspect of the applied philosophy section. Okay, we'll come back. Thank you. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.